Despite being a box office bomb, Argyle is winning its opening weekend at the box office and is earning $18 million over its first 3 days. A number unlikely to excite Apple, which purchased the Matthew Vaughn-directed film with its star-studded ensemble cast for $200 million. Argyle earned a C+ cinema score in weak reviews, sporting a rotten score of 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. Surprisingly, Argyle does make good on boasting that it came from a twisted mind, though this is more of a reflection on the overall narrative and its many twists and turns, which cinemaphiles will likely appreciate more than those well-versed in the genre. All the various loose threads of the film's winding journey mostly pay off from a story standpoint. We just wish some of the more bloated scenes and sequences could have been trimmed and the characters could have been a bit more inventive to make that journey far more enjoyable. With Argyle, Vaughn delivers something that will feel quite familiar to his previous efforts. Yet its PG-13 tone and embrace of CGI make for a toothless experience that can't quite be salvaged even by this impressive cast. There are glimpses of genuine glee, but there are too few and far between to salvage the experience as a whole. The Beekeeper, Wonka, Migration, and Mean Girls fill out the top 5 on the box office chart this past weekend. So to recap the box office, of course, starting off at Argyle at $18 million, then Chosen Season 4 with $6 million for opening weekend. The Beekeeper, which is on week 4, brought in $5.2 million for a $49.4 million. Then number 4, Wonka, which is on its 8th week, brought in $4.76 million for a total of $201.1 million. And then we have Migration at week 7 with $4.1 million with a total of $106.2 million. And then at number 6, Mean Girls, which is at its 4th week, bringing in $3.85 million for a total of $66.2 million. And then at number 7, Anyone But You, with $3.27 million and $76 million total. Number 8, American Fiction, which is at its 8th week at $2.3 million, with a total of $15 million. And number 9 is Poor Things at its 9th week, with $2.1 million over this weekend, with a total of $28.1 million. And finally, at number 10, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is on its 7th week, bringing in $2 million this weekend for a total of $120.7 million. And our next topic is Josh Brolin has broken the silence on Thanos' possible MCU return. Josh Brolin has hinted at a possible return of Thanos in the MCU as he has heard rumors. As Doom Part 2 gears up for its theatrical release next month, bringing back the acclaimed cast of its predecessor actor Josh Brolin is gearing up to reprise his role. However, during a recent interview ahead of the movie's release, he found himself discussing another of his iconic roles, that of Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and more precisely, his possible return as the Mad Titan in the future. Brolin's appearances as Thanos became one of the highlights of the Infinity Saga. Beyond being the franchise's first big bad, the character managed to actually justify his actions in the movie in a way that saw fans debating the validity of his philosophical arguments. Since his comic book debut in 1973, Thanos has become a constant in the world of Marvel Comics. So, compacting his story into his relatively short MCU stint means that there could still be more stories to be told. In the MCU, Thanos' journey concluded in Avengers Endgame, where he faced death twice, first in the film's opening scene, and then in its climax during the Battle of Earth. However, his presence continues to loom large over the universe, with alternate versions of the character appearing in the animated series What If, and being referenced in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where an alternate version of him was mentioned to have been defeated by the Illuminati. Brolin's recent comments once again hint at a possible return to the MCU, and as long as the multiverse is around, then it's always an option. Even outside the current MCU timeline, it could also be possible that Marvel might delve into some of the previous stories. Thanos has been part of that sit outside the continuing narrative of the franchise. Thanos has already appeared several times in the first seasons of What If. This is something that could continue in the upcoming third season, with the series looking at alternate scenarios that some of its best-known characters could have been part of in another universe. Additionally, with the upcoming Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars, there's potential for Thanos to make an appearance in some form. However, as with other iconic characters such as Tony Stark or Steve Rogers, who were respectively by Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, there's always a risk that any kind of comeback, no matter how nostalgic and crowd-pleasing, runs the risk of undoing the perfect endings. However, as Marvel Studios attempts to get the MCU back on track after a rough 2023 slate, it's hard to predict exactly what tricks they could pull out in the coming years. In our next topic, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey reveals its new trailer. The sequel is set to screen in theaters later this year. When Winnie the Pooh and his related characters entered the public domain, some filmmakers were quick to cash in on the fame of the figure and rushed out horror stories that juxtaposed the delightful source material with brutal violence. With a sequel to last year's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey earning an all-new trailer, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 continues a trend of focusing more on the gruesome violence that no audience would ever connect with the original idea. With the viral nature of the first film garnering the filmmakers enough support to develop the follow-up experience, the new film is described, quote, "Deep within the 100-acre woods, a destructive rage grows as Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Owl, and Tigger find their home and their lives endangered after Christopher Robin revealed their existence. Not wanting to live in the shadows of it any longer, the group decides to take the fight to the town of Ashton, home of Christopher Robin, leaving a bloody trail of death and mayhem in their wake. Winnie and his savage friends will show everyone that they are deadlier, stronger, and smarter than anyone could ever imagine, and get their revenge on Christopher Robin once and for all." This is only one horror-themed project based on lighthearted figures that's on the way. There are disturbing reimaginings of Bambi, Peter Pan, and Sleepy Beauty all in the works. Just earlier this year, Steamboat Willie entered the public domain, with an announcement of a horror comedy on the way focusing on the Disney figure. Excuse me. With Blood and Honey 2 being a sequel, it means having to up the ante substantially, with director Reese Waterfield previously sharing that this new entry will be even more gruesome than the last. Stay tuned for updates on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 before it screens in theaters later this year. So before we move on, let us know your thoughts on the topics we covered in the comments section below. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, ExpressVPN. If you're looking for the best and most secure way to surf the internet, you want to check out ExpressVPN. You can get a 30-day money-back guarantee using the link in the description. And if you support them, you'll also be able to support us as we get a share of the commission or sale. And of course, before we go, we'd like to remind you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Just search the Cinema Gold Show. As always, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and hopefully one day take this show on the road. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you.